Now, in the last decade and a half, we've had a crisis in this country of hospitals closing, and there's no end in sight. Now, hospitals only close for two reasons. Either the people stop getting sick or the hospital isn't making any money. And if you watch this channel, you're smart enough to know that it's the latter of the two. Now, most of the hospitals that have closed in the last 10, 15 years have been in rural areas. And if you're living in one of those rural areas and something happens to you, you have some type of medical emergency, a hospital being an hour or two away means almost certain death. And then a lot of these rural areas, the hospital is the main employer. And what does that say about this economy? What does that say about America if hospitals are closing in this country? Now just think, if we have another nationwide illness, this country is going to be absolutely devastated. So that's just something to think about. Now, what can be done? Probably nothing. I don't see this trend stopping anytime soon. So this country's in big trouble, folks. Now, inflation is popping up everywhere. Now, Amazon came out and said they're raising their free shipping minimum to customers who have non-prime. Now, it used to be $25, but it's now going to $35. And just adjustments like this, the American consumer is being strangled by a boa constrictor of inflation. And every consumer staple, every consumer service that you can think of is going up in price. And this is at a bad time because most Americans are up to their neck in debt and they're basically out of money. Now, Best Buy came out with their earnings this morning, and one of the takeaways was the CEO commented that the consumer's credit card is up to the limit. And basically, the consumer is tapped out. And this is probably the fourth or fifth CEO of some of these prominent retail names that have come out and said that the consumer has no more to spend. So I don't know how much more proof is needed to see that the U.S. is in a recession, or at least going into a recession. Now, despite mortgage rates at 22-year highs, home prices rose for the fifth consecutive month. And it looks like there's no end in sight with that. And I've been saying for months that the average American is basically boxed out of the American dream of buying a home. Now, also, 26% of all single-family home sales in the U.S. were from investors. And these are investors not planning to actually live in the home. And this is the reason why home prices will not go down, because you have Wall Street now in the mix. You have these Black Rocks and Blackstones who are buying homes, and they don't plan to live in these homes. They plan to rent these homes out. So you don't have the natural occurrence of home prices falling because there aren't enough family buyers. These institutions are picking up the slack and they're not stopping. So this is going to be a problem for the foreseeable future. As long as Wall Street, as long as these sharks have their skin in the game, the average American is going to lose. The average American is going to get the short end of the stick. Now, sticking to the housing market, the total value of U.S. homes hit a record $47 trillion. So if you're vying to buy a home, you're seeing every single metric move in the wrong direction to bring home prices down to affordable levels. Now, the stock market has had a few good days. And again, I believe that the stock market is going to all-time highs, especially during an election year. And there won't be much negative news to stop it. The algos and the working group are going to make sure this market marches to all-time highs. And again, I said Dow Jones Industrial Average 40,000 by the first quarter of next year. And the TV talking heads in the administration, they'll point to the stock market and tell you the economy is doing great. Meanwhile, the masses will be laying their heads down in tent cities. So economically and socially, this country is going in the wrong direction. Now, I've said this before, that health is wealth. And if you don't have a healthy population as a country, you're not going to be able to grow going forward. And I've seen a few stories lately. The country is facing a crisis of having enough skilled labor to meet demand. And a lot of that can be blamed on health. A majority of the population is on drugs. They can't pass a drug test. You have many people who are abusing alcohol. They're not able to function in any capacity that makes them a valued worker. And you have another part of the population that is just unphysically fit to actually hold a job. So until we solve the problem of getting our population in shape, getting our population healthy, this is going to be an ongoing crisis for the foreseeable future. And America is not going to be able to compete with China. They're not going to be able to compete with Brazil, some of these BRIC nations. So we're in big trouble, folks.